It's been a long time. Hello, Carm3D here with you on the tube once again. I know it's been a long time. I said it was going to be a couple months, and it turned out a couple years, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've been putting this off for about a year. I've been wanting to get back into this. So I'm just going to get into it and do it, and hopefully I can get back in the groove of doing this. What's new? I am running a Lightwave 11, and oh hey, I got a camera now, and you look good. Okay, so you may recall, a long time ago, one of my first videos, I did a review of Fire and Smoke Generator, the plugin, and I kind of hinted that one day I would do a tutorial that showed how you could do a similar effect without that plugin. This is that video. So let's dig in here and see what we can do. I started the scene already because it takes a while. It's not too exciting to watch me setting this all up. First thing I did is I made an emitter. Let's look at that. I made it 10 by 10 by 10, nice large area. This is not the actual fire. We'll get to that later. You know, I should probably make this 300 or 3000 particle limit. Another thing I did is I turned the lifespan to 0 so they last forever. And in here, in the birth rate, I set up a ridiculously high number for frame 0. And on frame 1 it's 0. So basically it makes a bunch of particles on the first frame and then doesn't make any new ones. Okay, so the next thing I did was I added some wind emitters. They're nice and big, as you can see, and they're encompassing the area where the emitter is. This is the emitter. I made a turbulent wind. Let's look at that. Oh, that's the emitter. I want the wind. Okay, here's the wind. It's fairly large, 10 meters. I use turbulence. I increased the size of the turbulence 3 meters, and I changed the direction of the wind. And I basically cloned that 3 times, X, Y, and Z. So I got 3 different turbulent winds going in 3 different directions. You know, you just change the, well, you can change it here, or you can change the vector. I don't even think I touched the vector. And then on top of that, I added a vortex wind. Just a giant vortex wind. It's not very powerful. It's also very big, just to swirl things up some more. And so, let's take a look at the results of that. So as you can see, the donuts are kind of swirling around like a snow globe. The kind of motion it's doing is not really critical. It's important that they move around. So you can use different types of winds if you want for that. The next step, we're going to add a null object. And I'm going to call it donut. Let's go into the FX tab and add a wind. I think you know what kind it's going to be. And let's see here. Then we're going to use utilities. I want to choose master plugins. I'm going to add a master channel. As soon as I can find it. Oh, it's right here. Donut power. Let's add another one. Donut size, just in case we want to have flexibility there. Okay. So in the envelope for power, we will apply take my donut power, and let's get rid of value here. Append to expression, and we'll apply that to that. And then same thing for the radius. Where did my master channels go? There they are. Append to expression. Apply. Okay, the only thing I need to do now is I don't want that to be a 0, I want it to be a 1. And let's make this 0.35. Okay. Now, it's worth noting, my earliest video, playing with smoke, I was doing this technique, but I did it a different way, and it was a lot more complicated and time-consuming to set up. This is thanks to a suggestion by
Mr. Green,
and I want to thank
Mr. Green
for this tip. So he suggested we do it this way, the way I'm going to show you. So thanks,
Mr. Green.
Here we go. I'm going to go into the motion options for this guy and choose FX link. Let's see, I choose my wind emitter, rotation to random. Okay, good. Now I'm going to go into my scene editor. We got our donut here. I'm gonna clone it. Let's say 300 times. Okay, as you can see, we got a whole mess of donuts swirling around there. I also took the liberty of adding a fire emitter. Let's find him. Here's the fire. Pretty standard stuff. 300 particles, birth rate. I tweaked the particle weight and the resistance, give it a plus and minus there for both of those things. Lower the time frame to 40 with a plus or minus there. I also added a wind up so that the fire goes upwards, of course. And let's do a calculation, see what happens. I need to select my fire so I can see it. Oh, another thing I did in the FX browser, I set the update mode to user. Otherwise it's going to try to calculate it with every little thing you do. It takes forever, especially when you got 300 donut winds swirling around. Okay, let's calculate this. The wind's going up. Okay, the donut winds don't seem to be affecting it too much, but that's why we set up the master channel so we can edit them all at once. So let's stop that. Yeah, it just goes straight up. Let's try 0.5. Yeah, let's just try 1. And maybe we'll make the size a little bigger too. Let's recalculate that. Seeing some more life now. Okay, I'll edit around this. Okay, so here we are looking at the calculation. I did a little modification. I made the particles larger so they're easier to see against those blue rings. Here's another calculation. I did a couple more tweaks. Basically all I did was increase the donut size and the donut strength just a little bit, and it has a different look to it. And here's this same calculation rendered fairly poorly. So there's that. Now here's a couple of tips. What I usually do is I would do 2 calculations, one for the fire, one for the smoke, and the fire would end around there, and of course the smoke would go on up, but using the relative particle age, the smoke would appear somewhere around here. Because typically you would need a lot more particles for a good looking fire, especially than what I have here, than you need for smoke. Plus smoke takes a lot longer to render than fire. Of course, if you don't need the smoke, don't render the smoke. That's even better, because that renders faster. Yeah, I changed my shirt. It's the next day. I'm busy. What do you want? So anyway, that's about it. Obviously, the fire and smoke plugin, it's a lot faster and easier to set this up, but here's the way you can do it without the plugin if you don't have it, can't afford it. You should probably add a few more donut winds than I had, 300, and of course experiment with varying amounts of size and power for those donuts. I guess that's about it. I would invite you to check out my website, because there's been a lot of changes. Well, not a lot, but there's been significant changes since my last video, particularly the addition of the VFX gallery. So you might enjoy some of the stuff in there. I guess that's it, and I will see you next video.
Mr. Green.